Welcome to the video tutorial on using your iPad with Zoom. This is an interesting video for me to create, so I'm going to kind of explain what I'm doing here. I'm actually logged into a Zoom meeting room on my laptop, and that's the camera up here, so you should see me on camera there. And then I'm also logged in a second time on my iPad. So you'll see I've got the participants list open here. You should see me as a host. That's my logging in through the laptop. And then I'm logging in a second time through the iPad, and that's the co-host. And really the idea here is that I can't do some screen sharing that I need to do on the iPad to show you what I'm looking at and also make a video of it at the same time. So I'm using the second device really just to kind of help me make the video. But also using two devices is one of the best practices we're going to talk about. So I'm going to talk through some slides and some general ideas, and then I'm going to stop sharing the slides and I'm going to show you what some of the screens look like and try to take you through the details of kind of how to do this. So again, you might see me looking off to the side. I'm actually logged in with my iPad here, and this is where I'm controlling the presentation. So one of the things I just want to talk about and make sure that everybody's really clear on is that you can host Zoom meetings directly from your iPad, just logging in through your iPad. And you can do 95% of the things that you would normally do in a Zoom meeting. One of the things you cannot do from an iPad is host breakout rooms. It's just not available from the iPad app version only, kind of using Zoom. And so if you are hosting a meeting and breakout rooms are an important piece of the meeting that you're setting up or the class that you're hosting, you want to do that from a laptop or a desktop kind of computer rather than doing that solely from the iPad. Now again, that doesn't mean you can't use your iPad as an auxiliary device. We're going to talk about that. But if you need breakout rooms, you have to have a full computer or laptop kind of set up in the mix somewhere. Okay, so that's, just kind of one option. The other option is to use the iPad in tandem with another computer, and that's what I mean by kind of this auxiliary device. So you're using it as a supplement to what you're doing, especially in Zoom. And this is where the iPad is really powerful with Zoom. I think both in the classroom and out of the classroom. And so I do this quite a bit because there's certain things that you cannot do with just a laptop, like writing on the screen like you can with the Apple Pencil. So some of the things to think about in this scenario is you need to make sure that whenever you're using a computer and the laptop together, that you do not have the audio sources on both turned on at the same time. It'll cause a lot of audio feedback looping and cause this really bad sound you just really don't want to hear. So that makes a lot of sense to people, but what the trick here is that usually what I do is I use the microphone and the camera from the laptop, and I have the camera off on the iPad because it's probably, especially if I'm holding it kind of in my hands, it's probably pointed up to the ceiling, so that camera's not so useful. And then the microphone I have off as well, just because I'm already using the one in the laptop. The mic, though, it's more than just muting the mic. If you mute the mic on the iPad, that's not enough. You're still going to get this audio looping. You actually have to disconnect the audio, and when I go into the demo and I show you my actual iPad screen, I'm going to show you where that option is, okay? So it's disconnecting the audio, or from the start, never connecting your audio at all. The other really powerful thing is using Zoom's whiteboard. So Zoom itself has just a built-in whiteboard functionality when you're sharing the screen. And if you use that whiteboard from your iPad, it becomes a really nice virtual whiteboard that's super powerful. Really simple, but super powerful. So then the next thing is actually thinking about sharing directly from your iPad, like I'm doing right now. So I'm looking at my laptop and I'm showing you, what's in the Zoom room on my laptop, but I'm actually sharing that and controlling that presentation from my iPad. That just depends on kind of the hardware that you're working with. If you're somebody now who maybe is in love with Keynote and wants to present and create your presentations in Keynote, you can do that on your iPad, but if you have a PC laptop, you can't open Keynote on a PC laptop. So you might be presenting from your iPad directly as this auxiliary device, okay? The thing that I would say about that when you're sharing your screen in a specific app is to just try it out first, to practice with it yourself. Not all apps are created equally. So you could do a presentation from Keynote, you can do the same thing from the PowerPoint app, but there are differences and nuances between them, and you just have to kind of practice with the apps that you're thinking about using and see which really are going to achieve your goal and then also meet your own just personal style. So practice as much as you can before the live sessions. Okay. Now, thinking about the connecting with devices, I just want to talk through this a little bit. So Zoom only allows you to connect to a meeting from one device at a time of device type. So you can only log into a Zoom meeting on a laptop computer or desktop computer once. You can log into the same meeting though, again, with a tablet, and actually a third time. I'm not even showing here an example, but you could do it also a third time from a phone. So you can't log in twice on 2 iPads or on 2 smartphones or on 2 laptops, but you can do it once on each of those different things. Okay, so that's what we're really taking advantage of here. And as I said, there's really 2 ways to do that. If you were doing it in a fully remote kind of online learning, everybody's at their own home location kind of thing, then what I would do is log in from your laptop or desktop at home and your iPad, kind of just sitting next to you. If you're doing it on campus, especially teaching in the fall, we're talking about a lot of using the iPads for these kind of whiteboard type presentations instead of using the whiteboard in the room. So in that case, you might be logging into Zoom on the podium computer, the PC that's at the podium, and then your iPad as well in the classroom. Okay? Okay, so one of the things I just want to talk through again before I get into some of the demoing is a really important feature to think about when you're using Zoom meetings within Blackboard, and especially when you start adding in kind of these iPad things. As I already mentioned, Zoom has some limitations that you cannot be in multiple meetings at the same time on the same device. Another limitation to think about is that if you are the creator of a meeting, Zoom always knows you're the host of that meeting. And so if you try to leave a meeting or not attend a meeting that you've created in Blackboard that you created it, but you're really intending other people to use, maybe it's the students in your class, or maybe you have a co-instructor who's going to open up that Zoom meeting and start using it. They can use it without you being present, but because you created it, Blackboard and Zoom still know that you're the one that created it. You're the host. And so if they're off doing their thing in Zoom separately, and then you go try to log into another Zoom meeting anywhere else in Zoom, it will kick the first person out. So you have to be very careful about kind of who created the meetings and who's actually present at the meetings and running the meetings. And what the safest thing to do is in your Blackboard course, when you're creating a Zoom meeting, is only create Zoom meetings that you will actually be attending. Your class sessions, your office hours, things that you will actually be present for. Do not create Zoom meetings for things like student groups. Let your groups create those meetings. So designate one of the students in your group to create the meeting rooms. They can still do it from your Blackboard course. Students have that same schedule a meeting button in there. But let them create it for their groups so that it's separate from you. It isn't affected by the types of Zoom meetings that you might be holding at the exact same time. So try to keep those things separate. And same thing with any co-instructors. I know a lot of folks, if you do have some type of co-instructing role, you might designate one faculty who does a lot of the Blackboard setup. It's just easier. One person focuses on getting everything built in there. And Blackboard's really great about having multiple instructors and letting everybody kind of see what everybody else is doing. Zoom is not the same way. So if you have Zoom meetings and you have multiple instructors, again, you should only create meetings for the ones that are associated with you and let the other instructors create their own meetings. It'll avoid a lot of conflicts and issues between those Zoom meetings running at the same time. Okay, so let's start to get into the demo. So I've got a couple screenshots to start because this is actually what the screens look like before I even start sharing my screen, and then I'll show you what it looks like once I get past that step. But what I'm showing you is my iPad screen when I'm logged into a Zoom meeting. This is just logged into the Zoom app, and so, this same way that you've logged into Zoom meetings, whether you join by the ID or you click a link or you access it through your Blackboard course, however you're getting into the meeting, it's just pop up in the Zoom app and you'll enter the meeting. So one of the things I want to show you is just the sharing option and what this drop down kind of looks like when you're sharing your screen in the iPad. And so there's a little green share content button, and in the drop down menu there you can see a bunch of options, and you can use any of these. What I personally find I use the most is either my whole iPad screen, which is the first one, or the whiteboard, right? So either of these are really great options. Now you can share from your photo roll if there's something there that you have to share. You can use this to share files directly from iCloud Drive or Google Drive if you've got that all set up. You could go right to a website URL or a bookmark URL as well. So all of those are fine. I just personally find myself using one of the other two. And then once you click on one of those, either screen, or whiteboard. Sorry, actually, if you click on screen, it's going to take you here. If you click to whiteboard, it's just going to immediately start sharing the whiteboard screen. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. But if you click screen, it's going to take you to this menu. And it's just asking you, okay, you want to share your screen with Zoom. So you really just click start broadcast. And it's going to count down. It's going to go 3, 2, 1. And then it'll kind of just show you your iPad screen. And you can just kind of back out of that window and you'll be right on your iPad desktop. Okay, so let me just show you. I'm actually going to exit my presentation here. I'm going to go back into my Zoom meeting. And so as I said, I can't show you directly here if I stop sharing. I can't show you exactly what those windows look like until I actually share. But now I'm going to actually just share from that share menu. I'm going to share the whiteboard. So now what you can see is when I click share content and whiteboard, it just immediately pops up a whiteboard screen here. And again, I can type in, write with my Apple Pencil, whatever it is I want to share in the whiteboard. So I could do a math equation. I can change the color down here. I could do some type of graph. You know, whatever it is that you might be drawing on a whiteboard as part of your class session. And this is where the whiteboard can be really powerful, again, because there's not a lot of ways to do this in class really easily without the iPad. We are setting up document cams. You can do it if you need to, but I do find the iPad to be just so much more intuitive. You've got, you know, kind of an endless whiteboard here. I can add more pages. I can just kind of keep going as much as I need to and do anything I need to do on the whiteboard. And it's just so natural writing with the Apple Pencil. So it's just a very easy way to add a whiteboard either to a fully virtual session or to a class session, combining your iPad in with Zoom. Okay, so that's one. Now I'm going to just pull this little drop-down menu so that I can stop sharing for a second. And I also just want to highlight the join audio button. So again, as you join into a Zoom meeting to begin with, share my screen here. There we go. So I just want to show the join audio button. When you join into a Zoom meeting by default, you will be asked, when you join in on your iPad, you'll be asked if you want to connect to the audio, if you want to call in, you want to join over the internet, or you can just say cancel. So that's where my best recommendation is just to say cancel, not even to join over the internet or anything and then try to mute it in the room. You don't want this to even show a microphone. You want it to say join audio, which is telling you that the audio is not even connected at all. If you don't have that option, if it is connected and it shows a little microphone, even if it's muted, what you would do is go into this little more ... option there. And you don't see it here because I'm not connected and I don't want to get the audio feedback. But if I was connected to the microphone, one of the options in this list would say disconnect audio. And disconnect audio will completely take your iPad off of the microphone at all. And so there shouldn't be that audio feedback. Okay. Okay, so that's that option. You know, the camera, the camera won't cause any problem. If you want to turn the camera on the iPad, you can. It's just probably not pointed in any direction that's really helpful, so I usually don't. But through the app, you can still get to the participants list here. I can invite new participants if I needed to. I could copy a link and send that out. I can mute participants. I can ask a participant to mute. And then in the more button, we already looked at some of these, but there's some of the kind of quick and easy responses as far as the clapping or thumbs up. The recording option is there. That's because I am a co-host in this meeting, so the recording option is available to me. Chat is also in this area, so you can see in the mobile app, the chat will kind of pop up as a separate little area. Okay, but if I show you the chat back in this main room, it will also, you know, it shows up for everyone there. So I can close that. There are some other meeting settings. I can minimize the meeting. I can get to some of the virtual backgrounds. So there's a lot of the same settings that you would normally get to. If I pull the little drop down arrow next to the name of the meeting, it'll give me the details, the link, the host ID. Okay, and then the upper left there, you can end the meeting. So it's pretty straightforward through the app as far as the functionality you're using. I think the biggest tricks are around not joining the audio to get audio conflict between another device, and then the details around sharing the screen and how you might do that. So, and again, once I'm sharing my screen, right now, see it tells me in the middle, you're sharing your screen. So that's sometimes the other thing is that people will share their screen and then not realize how to share, to choose something to share. Just click your home button and get out of the Zoom app. It's still running in the background. You can see it's sharing my screen into the Zoom meeting, but it's not physically the app that I'm looking at. So now I could just look at any other app that I want. So I can open a Keynote presentation. I can go into presentation mode. And now in Keynote, I can use the Apple Pencil and I can annotate over the top of any of these things as I'm presenting. Okay? Whatever presentation I might go through, I can circle and annotate kind of as I talk. Okay, and then again, you would just click back to the home button and back into your Zoom app. And then when you're done sharing, you would just hit stop share. Okay? So that's all for Zoom through the iPad. I hope this helps, but also I realize fully that this is something that is very easy to talk about and much harder to execute. It takes a little bit of practice. So this is one of the things, that we will practice on pretty heavily during any of the face-to-face sessions. And this is also things that will be covered as some of the prep for the fall semester. So please be aware, there'll be lots more help with this. Thanks.